Thank you very much, Alain Pillet. It's easy to understand that e-CODEX, the e-CODEX initiative, is one of the main topics of this morning speeches and keynote addresses. I'm probably the less informed person in the room about e-CODEX, but I see that's a very hot issue for everybody playing in the e-justice arena field. And our next keynote speaker is Frank Woud, precisely from the eCodex community and external relations manager. So please, Frank, the stage is yours. Welcome and good morning.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Bom dia a todos. My name is Frank Woud, and I'm responsible for the Dutch part of the eCodex 2 project, and also chair of the EU Council Permanent Expert Group on eCodex. And it is my privilege to give you a small introduction, for as far as still needed after the last speaker of today, of eCodex, and its position in the EU's justice domain and a future outlook. In an increasingly, in today's world, not in the least on our continent, crime has become borderless, and so should justice be. In our increasingly digital society, cross-border judicial cooperation relies on fast and secure digital interaction between national and European actors. eCodex is an IT framework about exactly that, and by doing so, it provides easy access to cross-border justice for citizens, businesses, and legal professionals all over Europe. Part of eCodex are its technical components, to which I'll come back later, but for now I can already say that these are not the aim of eCodex, but merely a means towards achieving an end. That is fast and secure decentral digital interaction firmly based on the principles of subsidiarity and interoperability. Hence, a user-centric approach is key here, fitting for the 21st century policy development. Next slide, please. And next slide again, please. Just one of the areas in which eCodex is already used now is EU cross-border e-commerce, which is worth more than 720 billion euros per year. This requires easily accessible legal protection for consumers and businesses alike who buy and sell goods or services across national borders in other member states. Research has shown that there are many opportunities for using eCodex in that field. We recently finalized our new e-Justice white paper about this, and if easily accessible legal protection for consumers and businesses in the area of e-commerce is of your interest, I highly recommend that white paper to you. You can find your digital copy. It's available on ecodex.eu, our website. Next slide, please. In eCodex, the actual users are always put first in setting up new use cases and setting up new exchanges, both within and outside government. This is why we call it the citizen professional centered. It's citizen professional centered. More concretely, whenever we deal with new use cases, the parties involved are included in a so-called implementation team. Since its development started in 2010, eCodex has always been maintained and managed by a temporary project consortium of member states, while the number of use cases gradually increased. Therefore, by now, a growing number of people, for instance, users, ministry, civil servants, IT experts, legal professionals such as lawyers and bailiffs, etc., are or have been involved in its development. And these people continue to be involved also on new use cases, once a new use case is up and running. And together, we refer to these people as the eCodex community of experts. They gain valuable experiences with eCodex from which others, for instance, the Commission or EULISA or member states, can or should profit if they're interested in new eCodex use cases. Like I stated before, eCodex is based on the principles of subsidiarity and interoperability. The subsidiarity principle is operationalized by a decentralized approach, which basically entails that the IT status quo of each member state is fully respected and thus should never undergo any changes when eCodex is implemented in a new procedure or new use case. Therefore, it is fully interoperable, and it is based on connections between single points of contact in each member state. Next slide, please. So how does eCodex actually work? In a technical sense, eCodex consists of two main software elements, the gateway and the connector. The gateway, also called access point, ensures a secured cross-border connection with the gateway in another member state. It creates a standardized envelope and initiates the sending to another gateway. The connector packs the content of the message, guarantees its authenticity, its correct delivery, and it processes all tracing activities. The connector is linked to a national backend application, such as, for instance, a case registration system of a judicial authority like the public prosecutions. Both the connector and the gateway are content agnostic, meaning that both components are, so to speak, blind for the content, for instance, legal content of the messages passing through. Both software elements can be similarly applied to all use cases in each legal domain. All this provides for a secure and quick exchange of information, machine to machine, direct routing to the correct counterpart in other member states, direct processing of user input forms. It reduces complexity, waiting time, and it improves access to justice. This way, it should become the technical backbone to EU eJustice. Next slide, please. eCodex is currently in use by 27 partners from 25 countries, also by the Council of Bars and Law Societies in Europe, the CCBE, and by the Notaries of Europe, united in the Council of the Notariates of the European Union, the CNUE. It is used now in 4 civil law procedures and 2 criminal law procedures. Civil law procedures are the European Payment Order, EPO, the Small Claims Procedure, the Insolvency Register Interconnection, and the Business Register Interconnection. Another 2 civil law procedures are currently in view, namely those regarding the newly adopted regulations for service of documents and taking of evidence, on which the Member States and the Commission have started working on the implementation process, and the digital part of that will be based on eCodex. But there are still many more potential civil law procedures which can use eCodex in the future. Regarding criminal law, at this point, 2 procedures make use of eCodex, namely the European Investigation Order, the EIO, for which the Commission is currently developing and implementing a system called eJustice, and the mutual recognition of financial penalties. Other than that, also in criminal law, there are a number of potentials, among which I could name the exchange of digital evidence, e-evidence regulation, third parties, and mutual prisoner exchange based on the Framework Decision 909. Every cross-border legal procedure is principally potentially interesting, given significant numbers that make the investments worthwhile. Next slide, please. Just as an example of how an actual existing eCodex use case looks like, I will now shortly focus on the financial penalties case I just mentioned. This is based on the Council Framework Decision of 24 February 2005 on the application of the principle of mutual recognition to financial penalties. This allows national judicial fine collection agencies to exchange claims on unpaid fines on a large number of categories of offences and violations committed by EU citizens on the territories of other member states. One of these categories is road traffic fines. Every year on European roads, there are on average 300 million drivers, 26,000 road traffic deaths, and 135,000 road casualties. The main aims for this particular form of collaboration are firstly fighting against impunity between local and foreign drivers, and secondly, reducing the stock of documents. eCodex is currently in use for mutually sending claims between the central judicial fine collection agencies of France, Germany, and the Netherlands on unpaid fines for certain traffic offences. Now, a significant factor for implementing eCodex here was that relatively large numbers were involved here. For instance, in 2019, there were 9,899 of such cases being sent from the Netherlands to Germany. The benefits of using eCodeX so far have been, in this case, among others, time efficiency in the work process on the work floors, no more manual input, cost reductions, and the provision of a quick and easy interaction platform with standardized forms. All in all, in this case, justice has become better served and more money is actually received from previously unpaid fines. More countries and more categories will follow soon. Next slide, please. The success and potential of eCodeX, meanwhile, as we've just heard, have also been recognized by the European Commission. We're very happy about that, of course. In its communication of 2 September 2020 on the future of the digitalization of justice in the EU, the Commission even refers to eCodeX as being the golden standard for the future EU eJustice. And on that same day, it published a draft EU regulation on eCodeX with a view to its handover from the current project consortium called eCODEX 2 to EU-LISA by mid-2023. Now, at the moment, the negotiations between the 27 EU member states on this regulation are taking place under the Portuguese presidency. We're working on that. And the Portuguese presidency, which so far does actually an excellent job, by the way. And by now, I'm pretty confident that we will get to a good, sustainable, and workable result. Next slide, please. I will finish with some final remarks on the future. In my view, the eJustice community should embrace this user-centric and subsidiarity approach. It is relatively new to some, but based on our experiences, it's exactly that what has been key to eCodex.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Frank, but we lost your audio signal. So we were just watching I think it was the last slide of your presentation, but we lost your speech. I'm not sure if we can reestablish the...
Sure.
Okay.
You hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now. So
At
please.
which point were you on the last slide?
The last slide,
Right.
we just heard you about the golden standard and the next topic of your slide, and then you went mute. So please, if you can resume after that. Thank you.
Okay, I will resume my last slide. Thank you. So I will finish with some final remarks on the future. In my view, the eCodeX community should embrace the user-centric and subsidiarity approach. It is relatively new to some, but based on our experiences, exactly that is what has been key to eCodex's success so far. This should translate into other IT projects as well. Furthermore, we absolutely need to secure this approach in the future organization of eCodex in order to guarantee its increase, in order to guarantee and increase eCodex's success. A too centralized, top-down and one-size-fits-all approach is to be avoided if we want to make this work. And finally, the uptake of eCodex, the actual number of use cases, will have to be increased in order to gain more experiences with it and, moreover, spread its benefits. But if we do take this seriously, we have to be aware that although there are many opportunities still across the judiciary for using eCodex, not every cross-border legal procedure is automatically a good potential use case for it. Therefore, I believe we should work on the establishment of a set of clear and unambiguous criteria for new use cases. This should, by the way, also be an excellent activity for the upcoming eCodex 3 project, for as far as I'm concerned. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado.